Accelerate Alaska, exploring the economic opportunities to unlock a greater future. This podcast sponsored by FindPoint. Don't let advances in marketing technology get ahead of you. Get a free marketing analysis on your digital marketing efforts. Go to findpt.com. That's FINEPT.com.
Well, one of the things that the Board of Trustees decided a year ago was that we needed to put together a fund that would then attract additional capital into Alaska and be available to help maybe spur these alternatives to and in Alaska and create Alaska jobs, Alaska opportunities.
When most people think of the Alaska Permanent Fund, they think of the dividend that hits their bank account once a year. But it can be so much more than that. I was honored to have Angela Rodell, the Executive Director of the Permanent Fund Corporation, announce a new initiative to invest in Alaska.
When we talk about investing, the Permanent Fund has about a 12% allocation to what we call alternatives. And this is private market investing. This is a really important asset class for the Permanent Fund. It generates in excess of 20% returns in some years for us. And it really provides that long-term investment horizon that we have all come to accept in those returns that we're looking for with the Permanent Fund. So when we think about alternatives and private investment, there's a number of ways we can get involved in that. It can be in anything from venture capital, which is that seed capital some of the entrepreneurs in here may be looking for, to debt financing, which is to help finance those long time existing growing businesses that don't want to release equity, but would rather have that financing, that leverage come in through debt. So it can come in through a number of different ways. How do we attract capital, though, to Alaska? Well, one of the things that the Board of Trustees decided a year ago was that we needed to put together a fund that would then attract additional capital into Alaska and be available to help maybe spur these alternatives to and in Alaska and create Alaska jobs, Alaska opportunities. And it's really important to recognize that the fund still needs to earn those market rates of return and to generate the returns Alaskans have come to expect from the fund. We're not going to take anything less than those market rate returns. We're not talking about a grant program, write-offs. We expect everything that gets invested to be fully successful, scalable, and opportunistic for all of us. So with that, we have finally created our program. It took a lot of work. It took sending out a request for information and ideas. It caused a lot of technical ability coming in to really think about what was going to be successful. How were those programs going to be measured for success? Where were the opportunities? How are we going to get into some of these things? What was the staffing requirements? Staffing requirements from the corporation, the requirements from partners. Partnerships have been very important to APFC. It's how we leverage our ability to do things across the globe, and it's delivered on a lot of returns. And those partnerships have taught us a lot about what we do well and what we need from our people on the ground to do with us. And so with that, I'm really pleased to announce that we have formed 2 partnerships as part of this program. Each partnership has a mandate of $100 million. The first partnership is with McKinley Capital here in Anchorage. McKinley manages $5 billion worldwide. They have offices around the ground, but they've been here in Anchorage, formed in 1990. They understand Alaska. They understand the opportunities here. They are going to be starting a $100 million seeded by Alaska Permanent Fund private equity. So this is going to be that venture capital, private equity investment that we think is needed here in Alaska and can be matched by potential other limited partners. So we're hoping that that $100 million will attract additional capital from institutional investors from around the world. The second partnership that I'm pleased to announce is going to be with Barings. And Barings is a subsidiary of MassMutual. It is not Bering Strait Native Corporation, just to be clear. And Barings has been in the business for well over 100 years. They have a long-standing experience in creating what we would call geographically centered investment programs. Barings is going to be focused on infrastructure, real assets, debt. So a very different mandate, a different part of the spectrum. They also will have $100 million. Hopefully they also will be able to attract additional capital from institutional investors, depending on the opportunities that they see. We think both programs are incredibly complementary to each other and will create an opportunity set for Alaskan businesses to really be leveraged up and to really become successful. As I said before, it's really important that we figure out ways to attract capital and to talk about the opportunities for investment in Alaska, but those opportunities have to be market-based. And so we think that this is a way that we will be able to leverage our experience, our relationships, both in Alaska and outside of Alaska, to really bring that capital, because there are opportunities here in Alaska, and they range from everything from new startups, new ideas trying to get that initial seed funding, to generational businesses that are looking at ways to either lever or sell or move out of that space that they were in. So with that, I'm going to wrap up inside of my time and pass it along.
I hope you enjoyed what you heard. If you want to see the presentation with slides and visuals, go to accelerateak.com. A big thank you to Joe Morrison of the 49th State Angel Fund for putting together the investment track. He also has a podcast called 49SAF. If you're looking for inspirational stories about entrepreneurship in Alaska, I recommend you check out that one too. Do you enjoy this podcast? If so, go to accelerateak.com to find out how you can contribute, volunteer, or even bring an Accelerate conference to your town. accelerateak.com. This has been an Accelerate LLC production. The future is already here, if you know where to look.